Alrighty, so welcome back. So this is going to be a bit of a different episode this time because I'm going to explain how to get started with Industrial Craft. This mod is kind of, I would say, the main tech mod. The other one being Better Than Wolves, which I think you could call a tech mod technically. But I will get to that one in a future episode. But for now, I think the best start is to always get into Industrial Craft first, because there's a lot of methods to extract more resources from what you gather. So, namely ores is the one we're going to cover today. So if we go inside here, this is just my rinky-dink house, but I've got some ingredients. I've got some copper and tin in my inventory at the moment, and some iron. It's a good start to have all this stuff first. You don't necessarily need diamond, I don't think. Not at this stage. So what I'm going to do is the first thing that you should get is this. It's called a tree tab. So it's just wooden planks in this form. And you click tree tab. And you get the tree tab. So the tree tab is very limited uses, but what we need to do, first of all, is to find a rubber tree. So a rubber tree, if we head over here, these trees are like this. So this is a rubber tree. Rubber trees have these kind of pale leaves like this, and if you're lucky, they'll have these little spots on them. So what you want to do is you want to right-click these, and it will give you sticky resin. So sticky resin is used to make rubber, and that's going to be useful for cables, and pretty much that's it for the most part, as far as I can remember. There might be a few other uses, but cables is the main one. So you want to grab a couple of saplings, of course. These tend to drop a lot less frequently than normal trees. So you might want to chop down these logs. But one thing I would say is when you chop down these logs, just be careful, because these little rubber spots can actually regenerate over time. So sometimes it's like, if you make a farm out of this, I would recommend just basically trimming the leaves away so you can reach it, but leaving the log there. So you don't need to chop down the logs. Although you can, and I'm probably going to do it for this one just to get rid of the tree here, because it's not really like in my base. So make sure you grab every sapling, they're very important. And honestly, I'm going to go sleep because this rain's awful. Alrighty, now that we've slept and that awful rain is out the way, we can continue. To turn sticky resin into rubber, what we need to do is put it in a furnace and smelt it. So I'll probably just halve this just to make this a bit quicker. And you can see we are now getting rubber. So now that we have some rubber, what we want to do is put some copper ingots in the crafting grid along like that. And that's 3 copper ingots, and you get 6 uninsulated copper cable. And then what you can do is you can just put it in a crafting grid with the rubber, and that makes copper cable. This is very important. You need quite a bit of it, so I would make sure you have a good supply. I'm going to go plant some rubber trees and make sure we have enough for later. Alright, so we have our rubber trees planted. Hopefully, given some time or some bone meal, they should grow into full trees. Yeah, so sorry, that cat just kind of stole the limelight there. But yeah, once they fully grow, we should be able to harvest their rubber, and you can just use bone meal as well. You can see this one did not have any rubber. This one does, so you can just simply not chop down this tree, use the rubber tap, and then after a while, these will reappear and you should be able to reharvest it. So you'll get a really good supply of rubber if you have a couple of these trees. Just set up wherever you want, and yeah, easy. Alrighty, so over here, I've set up a little area just to use for the machines. Speaking of which, you might realize there's some odd creatures in the background. I have enabled more creeps and weirdos. So if you want this enabled, it's disabled by default, but if you want it enabled, you just got to go back to the global mod settings, go to more creeps and weirdos, and enable spawning. But yeah, it adds a bunch of very odd but funny creatures. So, let's just deal with this fella. So what we want to do is I'm just going to place down some crafting tables and things. Alright, so this is just a little bit of setup. This will probably be moved later. This is just an area to get started because I haven't built a base yet. But to start with, what we want to do is get a generator. So if we look for a generator, you can see in this, I think this is called HMI. It's basically JEI if you've ever played modern Minecraft. So you can click or like you search for whatever you want to do. Click on it, see the recipe, very easy. You've got RE batteries, machine blocks. So what we need to do is get the RE battery. So we need redstone and tin and a copper cable. I'm pretty sure I have some redstone, hopefully. And I don't. So I'm going to have to go mining and I will be back. Okay, so I'm back from mining. We have 32 redstone now. So what we will do is now we have to craft the battery. So you need tin, copper cable, and some redstone. Put the copper cable at the top, tin on the sides, and redstone in the center. That makes an RE battery. And now for the next part, we need a machine block. So this is refined iron. All it is iron in a furnace. It's not very hard, so we'll probably need more of this. So I might actually chuck in quite a bit. In fact, I'll do 22 because I know we need it for pretty much every machine requires a machine block, as far as I know. That is quite foreboding. I don't know what is causing that. If that's just weather or like some event happening that's causing lightning strikes. I don't know. Alright, so we've got our refined iron. We need at least 8 of it, so to make a machine block, it's just a circle pretty much. Now we get a machine block. And these cows are being very annoying. Okay, that's good. Get some free leather out of it at least. So now we need our furnace. So we will grab some cobblestone, make a regular Minecraft furnace, and we should be able to build it. So furnace, machine block, and then the RE battery on top. That makes us a generator. So this is our first source of power in IC2. Now what we need is a macerator. So a macerator is a machine block, again, an electronic circuit this time, which requires refined iron. It requires more of the sticky resin and rubber, so we will get to that. I will go grab some more. Thankfully, our rubber trees have grown quite nicely, so we will get to harvesting. Looking quite good, getting quite a lot, so if a tree ever spawns without rubber on it, just chop it down. It's not worth keeping around unless it has some sap points, or what you would call them. So a tree like this one, probably best to just chop down and replant. Alrighty, coming back to the workbench over here, I'm going to place some sticky resin in, let that go. As you can see, rubber is extremely important for a lot of early IC2. So we just make some more cables. Put the refined iron, 2 redstone, and the 6 copper cable. There we go, we've got an electronic circuit. And now, we just need the machine block. Alright, so we have our flint, place our machine block in the center, electronic circuit, flint on the top, and 2 cobblestone. We got a macerator. So we've done pretty much most of it. Let's get rid of that fella. I don't know what he is, but he was making a very annoying sound, so he deserved it. And the next step after this will be an electronic furnace, or electric furnace, sorry. For the electric furnace, it's just an iron furnace, electronic circuit, and redstone. So we just make the electronic circuit again. So refined iron, redstone, and copper cable, which I don't have enough of, so I'll make some more. So we get the copper cable, refined iron, redstone, another circuit, and an iron furnace, which is just a furnace made of iron. Pretty simple. Not much difference there. And now we just throw it all in with a bit of redstone. Simple. Electric furnace. Alright, so one thing that's very important when you place these down is that you know where you're placing them, because what you need to pick them up will be a wrench. And if you don't have a wrench, you lose the machine. It just becomes a machine block. So you need to use a wrench to pick them up. So we'll make a wrench right now just to show what you need to do. So for a wrench, you need bronze. So for this bronze, what we need is bronze dust, which is just copper and tin dust. And of course, to make that, we need the macerator. So given that we've got all this together, we may as well get started placing things down. And I'll place my generator right here at the end. And then I can place copper cable behind. And then what this will do is allow me to place the machines along here so that they're connected. So we'll say, let's say the macerator's first, because of course we want to macerate the ore before we smelt it. And then next will be, we'll give some space because we need to, if we want to automate this, we will need pipes. So pipes are actually from a different mod. So we will be covering a little bit of a different mod in this video as well. It's from Buildcraft. So what we need to do now is power it on. So simple, you throw some coal in it and it powers itself. For some reason it puts it in the top slot, but for this top slot here in the generator is for charging batteries. So if you have a battery, like an RE battery, you can charge it that way. So now that this is being powered, you can just throw some ore in. So if I throw the iron ore in, for example, it should macerate. Yep. So this is a very noisy mod. I think in modern versions, it's much quieter, or there's usually blocks that silence the machines. Unfortunately, I don't think we have that, so we gotta make do with what we got. Keep that in mind when you're placing your factory down. You probably don't want it near your house all the time sometimes, especially if you're gonna have this automated and running most of the time. So now we have some iron dust. I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna put some copper. So you can also just put ingots in if you want to just get the dust. But putting the ore in, it gives you 2 dust, which actually can be smelted into an ore per dust. So it doubles the ores. So there you go. And that will make iron ingots, but we'll keep the iron dust because we need that for the bronze. But that's just a demonstration of how this is working out. So, alrighty, since this is taking a while, I'm just gonna cut the video and show you what to do afterwards. All right, so now that we have the copper dust and the iron dust, we should just be able to put it in a crafting grid, like so. Oh, it's tin. I didn't need the iron dust, so I'm gonna make some tin dust now. So I don't need as much of it. So yeah, don't mistake some of these dusts. Sometimes they look kind of similar to each other. It happens. So now we have everything we need. Tin dust, copper dust. We should be able to make bronze dust. And then with this bronze dust, all we have to do is smelt it. And we got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So perfect amount. And now we have bronze. So we just craft our wrench. And now if you want to pick up one of these machines, all you have to do is right click. And then you've got it. So do not mine it. Otherwise, it'll just drop a machine block. Be careful with that. You don't want to waste precious resources. You can see that the generator maintains some level of charge. There is a battery we can build that will maintain much more charge than this. What we will do is now look for a bat box. So a bat box is just copper cable, wooden planks, and RE batteries. So we know how to make RE batteries, so we'll make 3 of them. Would help if I had some cable first. So planks like so, a copper cable, and the RE batteries. And now we've got a bat box. So a bat box needs to be, I believe, in between the generator and the machines. So what we need to do is reassemble this a little bit. Grab my cable, which I believe you can just mine. Grab all my machines and reorganize this a little. So as long as the setup is right, you shouldn't have any problem. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. You should be fine without. Unfortunately, we lost all our power when we picked it up, so keep that in mind when you do, if you do the same thing. So we'll throw the macerator, and we'll throw the electric furnace. It's another one of those bubble creatures. Oi. Quit that. Oh, here he is. It's this one. Yeah, get him. Alright, so it seems we have ran out of cable here, so I'm gonna go get more rubber again. Rubber really is the lifeblood of IC2 in some aspects. You need tons of it. Alright, so I've crafted some more copper cable. We just link this all up. And what should happen is this bat box should fill up. However, I believe I've placed this the wrong way around. So there is a correct way, and you can change the direction. Okay, so I've figured it out. This is actually the output. So what we need to do is shift right click and place it like that. And therefore, things should be powering. Now we're getting charge, which is very nice. I think you can have an array of these. Like if you wanted to set up multiple of these, you could probably do so. I'm not entirely sure if there's an upgraded version of this, but we will find out when we get further into the mod. So while I'm here, I may as well start macerating my iron ore. As you can see, doubling the ores quite nicely. Everything's working as it should. Now we want to get into actually automating this. So what we need is a wooden pipe, which is just glass and wooden planks. So I'm going to go get some glass and I'll be back. Alright, so I have some glass. Now what I want to do is build a wooden pipe. And we also want to make some cobblestone pipe. So we do the same with cobblestone and we get cobblestone pipe. So these two are very important. The wooden pipe will be used to extract the dust into the pipe system. So what we want to do is place a pipe on top You might need some kind of block behind it because it doesn't let you place it on top even if you shift click. So you do that. And then what we need is a redstone engine as well. So a redstone engine, pretty simple. 2 wooden gears, which are just sticks. So we'll grab some sticks. Make 2 of these. And we need a piston, some wood and some iron. And some cobblestone and some redstone. Piston, glass, and wooden planks. So piston, glass, wooden planks, and gears. So redstone engine. So the redstone engine can just be placed there. So now that we have this redstone engine here, well, you might be asking, how do we power it? Simply, all you have to do is give it a redstone signal. So we just make a lever and you can just place it underneath. And that's starting to pump out things, except it doesn't. Why doesn't it start doing that? Alright, so fiddling with this after a while has led to me to some conclusions. Oh, sorry, some things that I had forgotten. So if you want to put items in a machine, I think the pipe has to be above it. Whereas if you want to take items out, it has to be from the side. So what we need to do is actually give a bit more space to this, and we will throw a copper cable down. The reason being is that if we place this pipe here and the machine was here, it would connect to the side. So what we want to do is have this go up and above, and then we want to have the redstone engine right here, and it should pump it out the side. You can upgrade these pipes to make them faster if you wish. So there are different types of pipes, like stone, which I'll probably recommend getting instead, because it's not too much harder to make. There's redstone pipe. I'm not entirely sure if this has a specific use case, so we'll figure that out in a later episode. But you can see we're getting the iron into the electric furnace. Everything's working automatically, which is fantastic. It's looking good. And then if we wanted to just continue, so I believe you have to use, speaking of which, I believe you have to use wooden pipes at the entrance. That's at least how I've learnt it. I can't remember if there's if that's specifically, it seems to be a specific, like, there might be a specific reason to that, but I've just learnt it that way. So I'm not entirely sure. Now what we need to do is pump it around, out the side, up, and then back down and into a chest. Once we get an engine on this, everything should end up in the chest and ready for us to use. And would you look at that, it's all done. Now the only thing left is to demonstrate it. So I've got this tin ore here. I'll throw it in the macerator and we'll watch it go through. Now, one thing you could have is an input chest. However, that would take up a bit more space, so I'm not doing it for this demonstration. You don't want to put more than one type of ore in the chest, because the pipes are not smart enough to realize the machine is full or that it can't put the item in because there's a different item in. If it does that, if the pipes start pumping things, they will just spew out onto the floor. And you don't want that. So make sure you keep it all one type of ore, at least for now. I don't think there is a way to smart filter any of that or to fix that, as far as I know. With these mods specifically, it's not possible to do that. So yeah, you can see already we've got the dust coming through, goes through the furnace, then out the furnace and into the chest. I just realized that the chest is connected from both sides. You might want to fix that. It doesn't seem to be causing any problems, so maybe it'll be alright. But if it's an issue, Oh, no, it just goes into the chest. So you could probably do without this part then. So screw that, don't need it. We're all good. We got 20 iron, 10 tin, and as long as you keep this powered, of course, because it's already run out, you should be good to go. Alright, so here's a quick overview of how this contraption works. On the left, we have the generator, which has a cable going into what's known as a bat box, which is the brown cube. Then the cable runs along into each of the machines, supplying both with power. The machine on the left, with the black hole in it, is a macerator, and the machine on the right is an electric furnace. The macerator crushes ores into 2 dust. So that's 1 ore equals 2 dust. The 2 dust then goes through the pipe that links these two to the electric furnace, which then gets smelted. The smelted ore then gets pumped out through a pipe into the chest at the very end. The pipes are powered with these redstone engines. The redstone engines only use redstone. The pipes specifically have to be wooden at the entrance, because wooden pipes are an extraction pipe. The other pipes are just cobblestone, but they could also be stone if you wanted to. If you look inside a generator, you'll notice a few things. First of all, it looks kind of like a furnace. This slot at the bottom is for your fuel, so coal, wood, anything. Works just like a furnace. This black box, if I did not have a battery, so let's, just for demonstration, let's disconnect this. If it did not have a battery that it was flowing power into, or if it wasn't being used at all, this will charge up. It's effectively a small battery, so it's sort of a buffer for energy. So any excess energy that's being produced but not used goes into this buffer. So if we stop generating power, you can see it's starting to use up the buffer. And the buffer's going into the bat box. So the bat box is still receiving power. Alright, moving on to the bat box. The bat box, on the other hand, is basically a bigger version of that buffer. So it's a battery. It holds power and lets you use them for later. This will be much more useful once we have solar panels, because solar panels only receive power during the daytime. So you want to be producing power and storing it for nighttime. As you can see, the bat box is not using anything, and because none of these machines are being used, they aren't using any power. So keep that in mind. These machines will not use any power unless they are actually doing something. So this isn't being used, and if I stick, say, let's stick some clay into the electric furnace as an example, now it's using the power, and now the power level's going down. So IC2 uses something called energy units. Energy units are effectively just a form of electricity. Then what I've got is this cable running along to each of the machines. Each machine is now being powered because of this cable. Now these cables, depending on what type of cable they are, determines how much power can be transferred through them. However, we will not be getting into that because for this specific example, there's no real need for anything higher than copper. The macerator basically crushes ores into dust. So I'm going to turn this redstone engine off just to use this as an example. So the macerator takes 1 ore and crushes it into 2 dust. As you can see, we get 2 copper dust from 1 ore. This works with any vanilla or IC2 ore as far as I know. I'm not entirely sure about other mods. The dust, if this machine was on, would be pumped through these pipes, starting with the wooden pipe, up through the cobblestone, and then into the top of the electric furnace. It's important it goes into the top because if you're inserting it from the top, it goes in the right slot. Otherwise, it will just spew out on the side. So we put the dust in, and then the dust gets pumped into the chest where you can take it. Eventually, you can get solar power, and we will definitely be doing that because it saves a lot of hassle and a lot of resources. So, like, this chews through coal at the moment. So, but for an early start, it's good. So yeah, I think that's where I'll leave it as a start. So, if you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe if you're interested in seeing more. And I've also started live streaming, so the live streams they could be random games, not just Minecraft, but also the resource gathering side of this has been through live streaming. So if you want to see that, you can watch my first stream where I basically went mining and got all the resources to make these machines. I'll probably do that again pretty soon so that I can gather resources for the next step, which I haven't decided yet. But yeah, I'll decide that in time. Alrighty, well, see you around and have a good one.